Thank you once again for tuning in to KSU Gold. This show is being brought to you by Kentucky State University's College of Agriculture, Food Science, and Sustainable Systems in partnership with the Frankfort Kiwanis Club. My name is Lindsay McGaha. I'm a media manager here at Kentucky State University, and I'm your host. And on this show, we give our viewers a peek of our faculty, our staff, and our students and their efforts to continue our golden legacy of achievement here at Kentucky State University. On today's show, we're going to be talking all about bugs, and we'll head out to the Harold R. Benson Research and Demonstration Farm, where we'll learn all about their research on entomology. But first, we'll introduce the bug guy, better known as Dr. John Sedlacek, who's the chair of Agriculture, Food, and Environment here at Kentucky State. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thanks for inviting me today.
Well, you're an entomologist. What is the study of entomology?
Entomology is the science of the study of insects. It has many different aspects to it: anatomy, physiology, pest management, ecology. Forensic science, for example, uses insects in the solving of crimes. The Department of Defense, studies robotics based upon insect crawling and movement and flight. Of course, if you pay any attention to some of our jet fighters, they're shaped like many insects aerodynamically.
Wow. So what are some insect-related research that we're doing here at Kentucky State?
At Kentucky State, I'm involved in conservation biological control. That term just means that I try to provide habitat for beneficial insects to come in and colonize those plants that I'm using to attract them, and then they move into crop situations. For example, sweet corn and blackberries are two crops that I've been involved with.
Now you say beneficial, and that's hard for me because for me, a dead bug is better than no bug at all, right? And so I'm wondering, when you say beneficial, what do you mean? Most people are afraid of bugs, or they bite, or they sting, or they carry diseases or sickness. So tell us what you mean when you say beneficial.
That's true. From a very young age, we're taught to be afraid of them. But there are many beneficial insect species. For example, lady beetles, they're predators. That means they feed on pest insects. There are other small carnivorous insects like big-eyed bugs, minute pirate bugs, and soldier beetles, for example, that feed on pest insects. So they're very beneficial to us. And bees, of course, provide pollination, flies, some types of flies, butterflies, pollination for our crops.
Now you're using certain types of plants to draw these type of beneficial insects. What types of plants are you using?
We're using native perennial plants, 11 species of flowering plants and 5 species of grasses. The flowering plants, like a couple different species of coneflowers and asters, rattlesnake master, and some of the hairy beard tongue, for example. Those are plants, flowers that have been shown to attract these types of insects.
What do you hope that they'll do?
We want them to come in and move from the perennial borders that we've established and that you'll see later on in the show at the farm, move from those border rows into sweet corn. For example, we did a 2-year study involving sweet corn where we bordered the sweet corn plots, with those plants. And they attracted beneficial insects which moved into the sweet corn and reduced the damage by 50%. And so that means that we can use fewer insecticides. And so the total insecticide load in the environment would be reduced.
So are you hoping that these bugs pollinate the plants as well as kill off other types of insects?
Well, yes. In the home environment, for example, bees are very important. Butterflies are very important. And so if these plants are planted in the home environment, and you don't need 16 different species of them, 2 or 3 species, for example, the coneflowers, and they're beautiful to have there as well. And the rattlesnake master is a wonderful plant, okay? And it's very showy. If they attract some little wasp species, for example, tiny little wasps, and they are very beneficial as well.
Okay. Now, I've heard of a term, and you used it. It's an everyday type of insect. It's a special name for a fruit fly. A Drosophila? Is that what it
yes,
is?
Drosophila.
Tell us about you all's research that you're doing with the Drosophila.
Well, we are not really doing research with the Drosophila. Spotted-winged Drosophila is a very serious pest that was introduced into this country from the Far East about 10 years ago. And so it infests blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, causing millions and millions of dollars worth of damage each year. And so we wanted to try some of our conservation biological control tactics in addition to using some biological type insecticides to manage it in blackberries.
What type of insects do people want to have inside of their home gardens? You know, it's that time of year where most people are planting gardens, and so a lot of insects are beneficial to the garden and many of them are bad for it. What types of insects would you say would you like to draw to your garden and those that you want to kind of keep away?
Well, lady beetles, of course, I think are very important in feeding on small, soft-bodied insects and the eggs of pest insects. I think that bees, of course, are very important to have there to pollinate the crops. We would not have pumpkins and gourds and squashes and fruit or anything like that if it were not for these types of insects.
What are the best ways for gardeners to attract these types of insects?
Well, I think that rather than buy lady beetles, which you can do that commercially, I would rather attract them, give them a reason to come to your garden. So plant some of these species. For example, common boneset. It's a wonderful plant to attract a variety of different types of beneficial insects. And you have the added benefit of attracting butterflies, which are quite beautiful, and there are lessons in life for children and adults as well when they observe these things.
Now, you teach classes as well as do research. Tell us a little bit about the classes that you teach here at Kentucky State University.
I teach 2 undergraduate classes and 2 graduate classes. One of the classes is an introduction to agriculture, food, and environment. And so, of course, we invite different people to come in, different faculty members to come in and talk about their research. And so, of course, I talk about the conservation biological control. I also teach environmental entomology, and in it, we study insect anatomy so that students can learn how to identify insects. We study pest management techniques, insect ecology, and environmental influence that create changes for insects so that they can become pests, and also how to manage them in those situations.
Well, let's look at what you have here today.
While we were talking about the classes, I brought a collection of one of my former students to show, and it is a very good collection. Actually, it has a variety of different types of species that this student has caught. And so, I'm going to point this insect out in particular. It's one of the largest beetles found in North America. It is a male, and you can tell it is a male because it has horns on the front of its head.
That's a pretty big beetle.
It is indeed one of the heaviest and longest beetles found in the United States. And of course, there are some pest species here. For example, these grasshoppers. Those are dragonflies. Those are beneficial. They eat mosquitoes, for example. Okay, and so that's a green stink bug. It is a pest.
Let's see. Those are pretty awesome. Are there any good bugs to have inside of your home?
Well,
or maybe surrounding your home. I should say that.
Yeah, we talked about that a minute ago, and I'd just like to show. I don't know if we can pick these up on the camera, but these are lady beetles, 2 species of lady beetles that were found near my plots.
They look like ladybugs. Yes,
well, ladybugs, lady beetles, the same thing. Okay, if you were in Great Britain, they would be ladybird beetles. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why they're scientific names, so that we know exactly all across the world what a particular species is, because there's so many different common names for some of these. Multicolored Asian lady beetle in my left hand, and those are pink lady beetles in my right hand.
May I see?
Sure.
Awesome. And what do you have in your box here?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
I like that these are in cases and they can't get out.
Well, we're going to try to keep from any escapes. You may have noticed a plume of fruit flies as I open that up, and that's because we feed these insects bananas, okay? And of course, you leave a banana out on the corner counter, what are you going to find? Fruit flies within a couple of days. But I'm going to disturb her. This is a female Hercules beetle. And again, she is one of the largest, if not the largest species of beetle in the United States. And so quite harmless, quite harmless. This insect, along with some others, I'm not going to take the time to dig them out, but they're best beetles that have burrowed into this soil-like material. A lot of this material here is ground up wood. These insects help break down wood in the forest ecosystem and recycle nutrients back into the soil.
Wonderful.
So yeah, that is quite an impressive insect if you ask me. And kids love seeing these. When we go to, say for example, a county fair, state fair, kids love to see these things.
Yes, well, I wouldn't want to hold one, but they look great in your hand. Listen, thank you, Dr. Sedlacek. How can people learn more about what you do and get in contact with you?
Well, they can contact me through my phone number, or they can email me directly. Call me, email me, and I'll get back to you, I promise.
When we come back, we'll hear from Dr. John Sedlacek's research associate, Karen Friley, as she gives us information on her research out at the KSU farm.